William and Kate's Quiet Farewell, Story, Part 1. The morning sun cast long shadows across the gardens of Kensington Palace as Prince William stood at his study window, watching his children play on the lawn below. Princess Charlotte was teaching Prince Louis how to kick a football while Prince George read quietly under the old oak tree. It was a scene that would normally bring a smile to his face, but today his heart felt heavy with the weight of what was to come. Kate entered the room softly, carrying 2 cups of tea. She had always been able to read his moods, and today was no different. Without a word, she placed 1 cup on his desk and stood beside him at the window. Her presence was comforting, as it had been for over 20 years since they first met at university. "The children look so peaceful," Kate whispered, her voice carrying a note of sadness that she tried to hide. William nodded, not trusting himself to speak just yet. They both knew that this peaceful morning would be one of their last together in this way. 3 months earlier, William had received news that would change everything. During a routine medical check, doctors had discovered something concerning. The tests that followed confirmed their worst fears. The diagnosis was serious, and despite the best medical care available, the prognosis was not encouraging. William had insisted on keeping the news private for as long as possible, wanting to protect his family and the public from unnecessary worry. Kate had been his rock throughout the ordeal. While William struggled with anger and disbelief, she remained calm and strong. She had researched every possible treatment, spoken with specialists around the world, and organized their household to ensure the children would be minimally affected. Her strength amazed William every day, even as he could see the toll it was taking on her. The decision to step back from royal duties had not been easy. William felt a deep sense of responsibility to his father, King Charles, and to the people of Britain. The monarchy had faced many challenges in recent years, and he worried about adding to their burden. But as his condition progressed, it became clear that he needed to focus on his family and his health. The palace had announced that Prince William would be taking an extended leave from royal duties for personal reasons. The statement was carefully worded to respect the family's privacy, while acknowledging that the situation was serious. The public response had been overwhelming, with thousands of messages of support pouring in from around the world. As William watched his children play, he thought about all the conversations he and Kate had shared over the past weeks. They had talked about the future, about their hopes and fears, and about how to help the children understand what was happening. George, at 15, was old enough to grasp the seriousness of the situation, while Charlotte and Louis still saw it as their father simply spending more time at home. Kate had been incredible with the children. She had explained things in age-appropriate ways, ensuring they felt loved and secure despite the uncertainty. She had also worked closely with their schools to provide additional support and to maintain as much normalcy as possible in their daily routines. The couple had also spent time reflecting on their journey together. They remembered their early days at St. Andrew's University, where they had met as students. Kate recalled how nervous she had been when she first realized who William really was, and how he had worked so hard to make her feel comfortable in his world. They laughed about their early dating years, when Kate had to navigate the intense media attention while trying to build a career of her own. Their wedding day seemed like a lifetime ago, yet also like yesterday. The pageantry and global attention had been overwhelming, but what Kate remembered most was the moment when it was just the 2 of them, exchanging vows and promising to face whatever life brought them together. That promise felt more important now than ever. William thought about his mother, Princess Diana, and how she had faced her own challenges with grace and dignity. He wished she could be there to offer guidance and support, especially for Kate, who had taken on the role of future queen with such dedication. He knew Diana would have been proud of the woman Kate had become, and the mother she was to their children. The royal duties that had once seemed so important now felt secondary to the precious time with his family. William found himself cherishing simple moments, helping Louis with his homework, listening to Charlotte practice piano, discussing current events with George. These everyday experiences had become more valuable than any state dinner or official engagement. Kate had quietly begun taking on more of William's responsibilities where possible, working closely with palace staff to ensure continuity in their charitable work and royal engagements. Her natural warmth and genuine interest in people made her well suited for these additional duties. though William worried about the increased pressure on her. As the morning wore on, William and Kate continued to watch their children, both lost in their own thoughts. They knew that the coming months would test their family in ways they had never imagined. But they also knew that their love for each other and for their children would see them through whatever lay ahead. The sound of Charlotte's laughter drifted up from the garden, bringing both parents back to the present moment. Kate reached for William's hand, squeezing it gently. They didn't need words to communicate their shared determination to make every day count, to create lasting memories, and to face the future together with courage and love. Outside, the children continued to play, unaware that their parents were watching with hearts full of both sorrow and profound gratitude for the gift of this extraordinary morning together. The sun climbed higher in the sky, warming the garden and promising another beautiful day for a family that had learned to treasure each moment they shared. William and Kate's quiet farewell. Story. Part 2. 2 weeks had passed since that quiet morning at the window, and the reality of William's situation was becoming more apparent with each passing day. The family had settled into a new routine, one that revolved around spending quality time together while managing the increasing demands of William's medical care. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, William's primary physician, had become a regular visitor to Kensington Palace. She was a kind woman in her 50s who specialized in William's condition and had treated several high-profile patients with discretion and compassion. Her visits were always scheduled during school hours to minimize disruption to the children's lives. Kate had transformed one of the smaller sitting rooms into a comfortable medical consultation space. She had chosen warm, calming colors and filled the room with fresh flowers from the palace gardens. It was her way of making the clinical aspects of William's care feel less intimidating and more personal. During one of Dr. Mitchell's visits, she sat down with both William and Kate to discuss the treatment options. The conversation was frank but gentle, as she explained the various paths they could take. Some treatments might extend time, but would significantly impact quality of life, while others focused on comfort and maintaining dignity. William listened carefully, asking practical questions about timelines and what to expect. Kate took detailed notes, her organizational skills coming to the forefront as she tried to process the overwhelming amount of information. They had always been a team in making important decisions, and this would be no different. The children had begun to notice changes in their father's routine. George, being the eldest, was the most perceptive. He had started spending more time in his father's study, often just sitting nearby while William worked or read. These quiet moments together had become precious to both father and son. One evening, as William was helping George with a history project about the monarchy, George looked up from his textbook and asked, "Dad, are you going to be okay?" The question hung in the air between them, loaded with all the worry and confusion that a teenager feels when his world starts to shift. William set down his pen and looked at his son carefully. "I'm dealing with some health challenges, George. The doctors are helping me, and Mum and I are making sure we have as much good time together as possible." George nodded solemnly, seeming older than his 15 years. Kate had been having her own conversations with Charlotte and Louis, tailored to their ages and understanding levels. Charlotte, at 12, was beginning to sense that something serious was happening, while 9-year-old Louis remained largely focused on his daily activities, though he had started asking why Dad wasn't traveling as much for work. The family had decided to take a private holiday to Balmoral, the royal estate in Scotland that had always been a place of refuge and peace for the royal family. The vast landscapes and privacy of the estate would allow them to spend uninterrupted time together without the pressures of London life. Kate had worked with the household staff to plan special activities for each day of their stay. She wanted to create memories that would last a lifetime, knowing how precious these moments together had become. The children were excited about the trip, unaware of the deeper significance it held for their parents. William's brother Harry had flown in from California with Meghan and their children. The reunion was emotional, as the brothers set aside any past differences to focus on family. Harry had been deeply affected by the news of William's illness, and the two men spent hours walking the palace gardens, talking about everything and nothing. Meghan had been particularly supportive of Kate, understanding the unique pressures of royal life and the additional burden Kate was now carrying. The two women had developed a closer relationship as they navigated this difficult time, with Meghan offering practical advice about balancing public duties with personal challenges. King Charles had been a constant source of support for his son and daughter-in-law. Despite his own recent health concerns, he had taken on additional royal duties to reduce pressure on William. The king's experience with his own health challenges had given him insight into what his son was facing, and their relationship had deepened as a result. The palace communications team had been working carefully to manage public interest while respecting the family's privacy. They had released periodic updates about William's health that were honest but not overly detailed, striking a balance between transparency and personal boundaries. Public support had been overwhelming. Flowers, cards, and messages arrived daily at all the royal residences. Schools across the country had organized special assemblies to send well wishes. And charitable organizations that William supported had created tribute programs in his honor. Kate had been particularly moved by the response from military families and veterans organizations. William's work with these communities had been deeply meaningful to him, and their outpouring of support provided comfort during difficult days. As their departure for Balmoral approached, Kate found herself both excited and apprehensive. She looked forward to the peaceful time away from London, but she also knew that this trip represented a significant milestone in their journey. It would be their last extended family holiday before William's condition progressed further. The night before they left, William and Kate sat together in their private sitting room, going through photo albums from their years together. They laughed at pictures from their university days, smiled at their wedding photos, and marveled at how quickly their children had grown. "We've been so lucky," Kate said softly, her finger tracing a photo of William holding newborn George. "Even with everything that's happening now, we've had such a beautiful life together." William nodded, pulling her closer. "And we still have beautiful times ahead. Different than we planned, maybe, but still beautiful." Kate rested her head on his shoulder, drawing strength from his calm acceptance of their situation. Outside their window, London continued its busy pace, unaware that inside the palace walls, a family was preparing for what might be their most important journey together yet. William and Kate's Quiet Farewell, Story Part 3. The helicopter touched down on the grounds of Balmoral Castle as the afternoon sun painted the Scottish Highlands in shades of gold and amber. William smiled as he watched his children's faces light up at the sight of the vast estate spread out before them. This had always been his favorite royal residence, a place where protocol could be relaxed and family life could flourish naturally. Kate organized the luggage while William walked slowly toward the castle entrance, his steps more measured than they once were. The children ran ahead, their excited voices echoing across the courtyard as they reunited with the estate's beloved staff members who had known them since birth. Mrs. MacLeod, the head housekeeper who had worked at Balmoral for over 30 years, greeted the family with warm hugs and her characteristic Scottish brogue. She had prepared their favorite rooms and stocked the kitchens with all their preferred foods. Her kindness and discretion had made her beloved by generations of the royal family. The first evening was spent quietly in the castle's cozy sitting room, with a fire crackling in the stone fireplace. William read to Lewis from a collection of Scottish legends, while Kate and Charlotte worked on a jigsaw puzzle of the Highlands. George sat nearby, occasionally looking up from his book to listen to his father's storytelling. As the days passed, the family fell into a peaceful rhythm. Mornings often began with walks around the estate, with William setting a gentle pace that allowed him to participate fully. He loved pointing out wildlife to the children and sharing stories about his own childhood summers at Balmoral with Harry. Kate had arranged for a photographer to visit discreetly, wanting to capture these precious moments for the family's private collection. The photos showed a family at ease, playing board games, exploring the gardens, and simply enjoying each other's company. These images would become treasured keepsakes in the years to come. One afternoon, William and George went fishing at the estate's river, continuing a tradition that had been passed down through generations. As they sat quietly by the water, George opened up about his concerns for the future. He worried about his mother, about his younger siblings, and about his own role in the family. William listened carefully to his son's concerns, offering reassurance while also acknowledging the reality of their situation. He spoke about responsibility, about the importance of supporting each other, and about how proud he was of the young man George was becoming. The conversation deepened their bond and helped George feel more prepared for what lay ahead. Kate spent special time with Charlotte, recognizing that her daughter was at an age where she understood much, but still needed extra comfort and security. They took long walks through the estate's gardens, talking about everything from school friendships to dreams for the future. Charlotte's maturity and compassion impressed Kate, even as her heart ached for the burden her daughter was carrying. Louis, the youngest, remained largely focused on the adventure of being at Balmoral. He delighted in exploring the castle's many rooms, playing with the estate's dogs, and learning to identify different birds with the help of the groundskeepers. His innocent joy provided moments of lightness during emotionally heavy days. Dr. Mitchell made several visits to Balmoral during their stay, traveling discreetly to provide ongoing care and monitoring. She was impressed by how well William was managing his condition and how supportive his family environment was. The peaceful setting and reduced stress seemed to be having a positive effect on his overall well-being. William's appetite had been declining, but Kate worked closely with the castle's chef to prepare foods that appealed to him and provided proper nutrition. She had become expert at encouraging him to eat small, frequent meals and had learned which foods he found most palatable. The couple spent their evenings on the castle's terrace when weather permitted, watching the sun set over the mountains. These quiet conversations became increasingly precious as they discussed their hopes for their children's futures and the legacy they wanted to leave behind. One particularly memorable evening, the whole family gathered in the castle's music room. Charlotte played piano while the others sang along to favorite songs. William's voice, though quieter than before, still carried the tune beautifully. The impromptu concert filled the ancient walls with laughter and music, creating a memory that would comfort them all in difficult days ahead. Kate had invited a local minister to visit, not for any formal service, but simply to provide spiritual support for the family. Reverend Mackenzie had known the royal family for years and offered gentle guidance and comfort during their conversations about faith, hope, and finding peace in difficult circumstances. The children began to understand that this time at Balmoral was special in ways beyond a typical holiday. They seemed to naturally gravitate toward spending more time with their father, sitting close to him during meals and seeking his attention for games and conversations. William found himself reflecting on his own childhood memories of Balmoral, particularly time spent here with his mother, Princess Diana. He could almost hear her laughter echoing through the halls, and felt her presence strongly during these family moments. He drew comfort from the thought that she would be proud of the family he and Kate had created. As their stay progressed, William began having more difficult days, when fatigue would keep him resting for longer periods. Kate became expert at adjusting family activities to accommodate his energy levels while keeping the children engaged and happy. The estate's staff showed extraordinary discretion and kindness, ensuring the family's privacy while providing any assistance needed. Their years of service to the royal family had taught them how to be helpful without being intrusive, and their genuine affection for William and his family was evident in everything they did. On their final evening at Balmoral, the family gathered once more on the terrace as the sun set behind the mountains. The children were quieter than usual, sensing that something significant was ending. William looked at each of their faces, memorizing this moment of togetherness against the backdrop of the place that had always meant home to him. The next morning would bring their return to London and to the realities that awaited them there. But for now they sat together in the Scottish twilight, surrounded by the ancient beauty of Balmoral and wrapped in the warmth of their love for each other. William and Kate's quiet farewell, story part. The return to London marked a new chapter in their journey, one that would test the family's strength in ways they hadn't fully anticipated. William's condition had progressed during their time away, and the peaceful days at Balmoral seemed like a distant dream as they settled back into Kensington Palace. Dr. Mitchell's visits became more frequent, and additional medical equipment appeared quietly in their home. Kate had worked with the palace staff to ensure that the children's areas remained unchanged, wanting their spaces to feel normal and safe despite the medical realities elsewhere in their home. William found that simple tasks now required more effort and planning. Kate had anticipated this and had quietly rearranged their daily routines to accommodate his changing needs. She did this with such grace that the children barely noticed the adjustments. Though George was beginning to pick up on the subtle changes, the decision was made to gradually reduce William's remaining public engagements to just the most essential ones. Kate would take on more responsibilities, working closely with their private secretaries to ensure continuity in their charitable work. The palace released carefully worded statements about the transition, emphasizing William's continued involvement while acknowledging his need to step back. Kate's strength during this period amazed everyone around her. She managed the household, supported her husband, cared for their children, and gradually took on additional royal duties, all while maintaining an outward appearance of calm competence. Behind closed doors, however, the strain was beginning to show. Her closest friend Sarah, whom she had known since university, became a vital source of support. Sarah visited regularly, sometimes just to sit with Kate over tea and allow her to express her fears and worries without judgment. These conversations were essential for Kate's emotional well-being as she navigated the most challenging period of her life. The children's schools had been briefed about the family situation and provided additional counseling support when needed. George had begun seeing the school counselor regularly, finding it helpful to talk through his emotions with someone outside the family. His teachers noticed that his academic work remained strong, but he had become quieter and more serious. Charlotte had developed a special bond with her grandmother, Carol Middleton, who had increased her visits to provide additional support to the family. Carol's warm, practical nature was particularly comforting to Charlotte, who felt she could ask questions and express concerns that she didn't want to burden her parents with. Louis, still the youngest, continued to adapt remarkably well, though he had started asking more pointed questions about why his father was home so much and why there were so many doctor visits. Kate and William answered his questions honestly, but in age-appropriate ways, always reassuring him of their love and his security. William had begun writing letters to each of his children, wanting to leave them with his thoughts, advice, and expressions of love that they could read in the future. He wrote to George about leadership and responsibility, to Charlotte about kindness and strength, and to Louis about joy and curiosity. These letters became one of his most important projects during his quieter hours. The couple had also been working with lawyers and advisors to ensure that all practical matters were properly arranged. William wanted to be certain that Kate would have everything she needed to continue caring for their children and fulfilling her royal duties. These conversations were difficult but necessary, handled with the same teamwork that had characterized their entire marriage. Public interest in William's condition remained intense, but the palace had managed to maintain appropriate boundaries around the family's privacy. Regular but limited updates were provided to satisfy legitimate public interest while protecting the family from excessive intrusion during their most vulnerable time. Kate had received thousands of letters from people around the world sharing their own experiences with serious illness in their families. Many offered practical advice, spiritual support, or simply wanted to express their admiration for how she was handling such a difficult situation. Reading these letters often brought her comfort during lonely evening hours. William's relationship with his father had deepened significantly during this period. King Charles visited regularly, often bringing along activities that he could share with his grandchildren. His own experience with health challenges had given him insight into what his son was facing, and their conversations provided William with valuable perspective and emotional support. The medical team had expanded to include specialists in pain management and palliative care, ensuring that William remained as comfortable as possible while maintaining his quality of life. Dr. Mitchell coordinated this team with exceptional skill, always keeping the family's wishes and William's dignity at the center of all treatment decisions. Kate had learned to read the subtle signs of William's good and difficult days, adjusting family plans accordingly without making the children feel restricted or worried. On his better days, they might venture out for short walks in Hyde Park or enjoy family movie nights. On more challenging days, they found joy in quieter activities like reading together or working on puzzles. The couple had begun having deeper conversations about their life together, sharing memories and reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. They spoke about their proudest moments as parents, their favorite travels together, and the causes that had given their royal work meaning and purpose. William had expressed a desire to make one final public appearance at a charity event close to his heart. Kate had worked with his medical team and palace staff to plan an appearance that would be meaningful, but not physically demanding. The event would focus on the military veterans organization that had been one of his most passionate causes. As autumn deepened into winter, the family found themselves treasuring simple daily moments that they had once taken for granted. Breakfast conversations, bedtime stories, and quiet afternoons together had become precious beyond measure. Each day brought both challenges and unexpected gifts of connection and love. The children had begun to understand, each in their own way, that their time with their father in his current capacity was limited. Rather than withdrawing, they seemed to naturally draw closer, spending more time in his presence and seeking opportunities to share their thoughts and experiences with him. Kate watched these interactions with a mixture of heartbreak and profound gratitude. Seeing her children mature and deepen their relationships with their father, even under such difficult circumstances, filled her with pride in the family they had created together. These moments of grace amid sorrow would sustain them all in the challenging days that lay ahead. William and Kate's Quiet Farewell. Story. Part 5. The charity event for military veterans took place on a crisp December morning at Wellington Barracks in London. William had insisted on attending despite his declining energy levels, knowing this would likely be his final public appearance. Kate had worked tirelessly with the organizers to ensure every detail was perfect while keeping the event manageable for William's current limitations. The veterans who attended had been carefully selected from organizations William had supported over the years. Many of them had personal relationships with him, having worked together on various projects and initiatives. Their presence provided him with motivation and strength for this important farewell to his public duties. Kate watched proudly as William spoke to each veteran individually, taking time to listen to their stories and express his gratitude for their service. Despite his physical frailty, his genuine interest in their lives and his warmth remained unchanged. The veterans responded with obvious affection and respect, understanding the significance of his presence despite his health challenges. The speech William gave that day was brief, but deeply moving. He spoke about the honor of serving alongside Britain's military families and veterans, acknowledging their sacrifices and expressing his gratitude for their dedication to their country. He also thanked Kate publicly for her support and spoke of his pride in their children, knowing they would continue the family's tradition of service. Photographers captured images of William and Kate leaving the event together, their hands intertwined as they walked slowly to their car. These photographs would later be recognized as among the most poignant images of their marriage, showing their unity and love even in the face of overwhelming challenges. The children had waited at home for their parents' return, eager to hear about the event. William spent the evening sharing stories about the people he had met and the conversations he had enjoyed. Despite his exhaustion, his face was animated as he described the veterans' achievements and their family's resilience. That night, after the children were asleep, William and Kate sat together in their private sitting room, both emotionally drained but satisfied with how the day had gone. William felt he had been able to properly honor his commitments and say goodbye to an important part of his life's work. The following weeks brought a noticeable decline in William's energy and appetite. Dr. Mitchell adjusted his care plan to focus primarily on comfort and quality of life, working closely with Kate to ensure he remained as pain-free as possible, while staying alert and engaged with his family. Kate had taken on the role of primary caregiver with characteristic determination and grace. She learned to manage medical equipment, administer medications, and recognize the signs that indicated when professional help was needed. The palace medical team provided training and support, but Kate insisted on being William's primary caregiver whenever possible. The children adapted to their father's changing needs with remarkable maturity. George often helped his mother with practical tasks, while Charlotte and Louis seemed to intuitively understand when their father needed quiet and when he welcomed their company. Their natural compassion and adaptability impressed all the adults around them. Christmas preparations took on special significance that year. Kate was determined to create magical memories while acknowledging that this might be their last Christmas together as a complete family. She worked with the household staff to decorate the palace beautifully, while keeping activities low-key and centered around family time. William participated in Christmas preparations as much as his energy allowed. He helped wrap presents for the children, though Kate had to complete most of the work. He also recorded video messages for each child, sharing his love and hopes for their futures, to be given to them on future birthdays and important occasions. The extended family gathered for Christmas Eve dinner at Kensington Palace. King Charles, Camilla, Harry, Meghan, and their children and Kate's family all came together for what everyone understood might be their last complete family celebration. The atmosphere was bittersweet, filled with love but tinged with the awareness of what they were facing. William surprised everyone by feeling well enough to participate in most of the Christmas Eve activities. He played games with his niece and nephew, shared stories with his father, and even managed to sing along with the traditional Christmas carols. Kate watched these interactions with tears of both joy and sorrow, treasuring every moment of connection. Christmas morning brought the usual excitement of gift opening and family breakfast, though at a gentler pace than in previous years. William was able to watch his children's delight in their presents and participate in their games, creating precious final memories of normal family celebrations. The holiday period gave the family extended time together without external obligations. They watched favorite movies, played board games, and enjoyed quiet conversations by the fireplace. These simple activities became profoundly meaningful as everyone treasured the unhurried time together. William had been working on a special project throughout December, a collection of video messages and written notes for each family member, to be opened at various future milestones. He recorded birthday messages for each child through their 18th birthdays, wedding day advice, and expressions of pride in their accomplishments yet to come. Kate discovered some of these recordings when she was helping William organize his personal effects. Watching him share his hopes and dreams for their children's futures was both heartbreaking and deeply comforting. She realized that through these messages, William would continue to be part of their important moments even after he was gone. The new year arrived quietly, marked by a small family celebration at home. William had made it his goal to see the turn of the year, and achieving that milestone filled him with quiet satisfaction. He spent the evening reflecting on the blessings of his life and expressing gratitude for the time he had been given with his family. Dr. Mitchell's visits became more frequent as William's condition continued to progress. She had developed a close relationship with the family and provided not just medical care but emotional support as they navigated this difficult journey together. Her presence brought comfort and reassurance during increasingly challenging days. Kate had begun having private conversations with each of the children about what to expect in the coming weeks. These discussions were age-appropriate but honest, helping prepare them emotionally while ensuring they felt supported and loved. The children's questions showed their growing understanding of the situation and their remarkable emotional strength. As January progressed, the family settled into a new rhythm, focused entirely on spending quality time together. The outside world seemed to fade away as they concentrated on making the most of each day they had been given. Love, gratitude, and grace filled their home as they faced the future together with courage and unity. William and Kate's quiet farewell. Story Part 6. The final weeks of January brought a profound change in the rhythm of life at Kensington Palace. William's condition had progressed to the point where he spent most of his time resting, though he remained alert and engaged when energy allowed. Kate had transformed their bedroom into a peaceful sanctuary, filled with soft lighting, fresh flowers, and photographs of their happiest family moments. Dr. Mitchell had gently explained to the family that they were entering the final phase of William's illness. This conversation, held in the warmth of their sitting room, was handled with such care and compassion that even young Louis understood the gravity of what was being shared. The family drew closer together, each member finding their own way to contribute to William's comfort and care. George had taken on the role of his siblings' protector and guide, displaying wisdom beyond his 15 years. He helped Charlotte with her schoolwork when their mother was busy with their father, and he created quiet activities to keep Louis entertained during the long, peaceful hours that had become their new normal. Charlotte showed remarkable intuition about when her father needed company and when he needed rest. She would often sit quietly by his bedside, reading aloud from books they had shared over the years or simply holding his hand. Her presence seemed to bring William particular comfort during difficult moments. Louis, despite his young age, seemed to understand instinctively that this was a time for gentleness and love. He would bring his father small gifts, drawings, interesting stones from the garden, or simply the warmth of his small hand in William's larger one. His innocent observations and questions often brought moments of lightness to otherwise heavy days. Kate had become William's constant companion, rarely leaving his side for more than brief periods. She had learned to read every nuance of his condition, anticipating his needs before he could express them. Her devoted care was a testament to the deep love that had sustained their marriage. Through 20 years of joy and challenges, the household staff had adapted their routines to support the family during this difficult time. Mrs. Henderson, the housekeeper, ensured that meals were prepared according to William's limited appetite and delivered discreetly. The security team maintained their vigilance while respecting the family's need for privacy and peace. William spent much of his remaining energy on final conversations with each of his children. He shared individual memories with George, recalled special moments with Charlotte, and created final magical stories for Louis. These conversations were gifts of love that would sustain his children throughout their lives. His talks with Kate during the quiet evening hours became increasingly precious. They spoke about their love story, their proudest moments as parents, and their hopes for the children's futures. Kate promised to carry on their shared dreams and to ensure that their children grew up knowing how deeply their father had loved them. King Charles visited daily, often spending hours simply sitting with his son. Their relationship had evolved from formal father and heir interactions to deep emotional conversations between two men who understood the weight of duty and the power of love. The king's presence provided comfort not just to William, but to the entire family. Harry had extended his stay in London, bringing his children to visit regularly and providing support to Kate and the children. The brothers had found peace in their relationship, focusing on love and family rather than past disagreements. These reconciling moments brought William particular joy during his final weeks. Kate's parents had become daily fixtures in the household, providing practical support and emotional stability for their grandchildren. Carol Middleton's nurturing presence was especially comforting to Charlotte and Louis, while Michael's quiet strength provided support. For George, during this challenging transition, the family had established gentle routines that allowed everyone to spend meaningful time with William while maintaining some normalcy for the children. Morning conversations over tea, afternoon story times, and evening music sessions became sacred rituals that provided structure and comfort. Dr. Mitchell and the palliative care team ensured that William remained comfortable and pain-free, allowing him to focus on his family rather than physical discomfort. Their expertise and compassion made it possible for William to maintain his dignity and engagement with his loved ones during his final days. William had completed his video messages and written letters for future family milestones, but his most important legacy was the love and values he had instilled in his children through his daily example. His courage, grace, and unwavering devotion to family had taught them lessons that would guide them throughout their lives. As February approached, the family could sense that their time together was drawing to a close. Rather than despair, they felt profound gratitude for the love they had shared and the memories they had created. Each moment together became a treasure to be cherished and remembered. Kate spent long hours holding William's hand, sometimes talking softly about their shared memories, sometimes sitting in comfortable silence. Their love, which had begun as young people finding each other at university, had deepened into something transcendent that would survive even physical separation. The children took turns spending quiet time with their father, each saying the things that were in their hearts. William listened to their voices, memorizing their faces, and filling his final days with the sound of their laughter and the warmth of their presence. Outside the palace walls, the world continued its busy pace, but inside, time seemed suspended as a family prepared to say goodbye with love, dignity, and profound gratitude for the gift of their years together. The approaching farewell would be quiet, but filled with all the love that had defined their extraordinary journey as a family. William and Kate's quiet farewell. Story, Part 7. The morning of February 14th dawned gray and peaceful over London, with soft winter light filtering through the windows of Kensington Palace. It seemed fitting that William's final day would fall on Valentine's Day, a date that had always held special meaning for him and Kate since their university years when they had celebrated their first Valentines together with a simple dinner and a long walk by the river. Kate woke early, as she had every morning for weeks, immediately checking on William, who was sleeping peacefully beside her. Dr. Mitchell had explained that this might be the day, and Kate felt both heartbreak and relief that William's suffering would soon end. She spent the quiet pre-dawn hours simply watching him sleep, memorizing every detail of his face. The children seemed to sense the significance of the day without being told. They moved more quietly through the palace, speaking in gentle voices and gravitating naturally toward their parents' room. George helped his younger siblings get dressed and prepared for what they somehow knew would be an important day. William woke mid-morning, and despite his weakness, his eyes were clear and alert. Kate helped him sit up against pillows they had arranged to make him comfortable, and he smiled when he saw the Valentine's card that Louis had made for him, decorated with hearts and stick figures of their family. "Happy Valentine's Day," Kate whispered, leaning down to kiss his forehead. William reached up with effort to touch her face, his fingers tracing the familiar contours he had loved for so many years. "Every day with you has been Valentine's Day," he replied softly, his voice weak but filled with love. The family gathered in the bedroom throughout the morning, creating a circle of love around William. Charlotte read from his favorite book of poetry, her clear young voice filling the room with beautiful words about love and eternity. George sat close to his father, occasionally reaching out to hold his hand, while Louis curled up carefully next to William on the bed. King Charles arrived with Camilla, and the sight of his father brought William visible comfort. They had said their important words in previous visits, but Charles took his son's hand and simply sat beside him, providing the steady presence that had defined their evolving relationship. Camilla quietly helped Kate coordinate the gentle flow of visitors. Harry and Meghan came with their children, and the room filled with the soft sounds of family conversation and quiet laughter as the cousins played gently nearby. William's eyes followed the children's movements, and occasionally a smile would cross his face as he watched them interact with the easy affection that had always characterized the extended family. Kate's parents spent time saying their private goodbyes to the son-in-law, who had become so dear to them. Carol held William's hand while expressing her gratitude for the way he had loved and protected Kate, while Michael spoke quietly about his admiration for William's courage and dignity throughout his illness. Dr. Mitchell arrived in the early afternoon, not for any medical intervention, but simply to be present for the family she had grown to care about deeply. Her professional experience and gentle presence provided comfort to everyone, especially Kate, who had relied on her guidance throughout William's illness. As afternoon faded toward evening, William asked for a few moments alone with each of his children. George went first, and their conversation was quiet and earnest, full of the love and respect that had grown between father and son. William shared final words of advice and encouragement, expressing his pride in the young man George was becoming. Charlotte's time with her father was filled with tears and hugs, but also with laughter as William recalled her funniest childhood moments and reminded her of her own special strengths. He told her how proud he was of her kindness and asked her to help take care of her brothers and mother. Louis, still so young, climbed carefully onto the bed and snuggled against his father's side. William told him stories about the adventures they would have had together, and promised that he would always be watching over him. Louis seemed to understand more than anyone expected, kissing his father's cheek and telling him not to worry about their family. Finally, Kate and William had their last private moments together. They spoke about their love story, their beautiful children, and their gratitude for the life they had shared. William thanked Kate for giving him the greatest gift of his life, their family, and Kate promised to raise their children with the values and love they had shared together. As evening approached, the extended family gathered once more around William's bedside. The room was filled with soft lamplight and the gentle sounds of quiet conversation, and occasional soft music from Charlotte's small speaker. The atmosphere was peaceful and filled with love rather than sadness. William's breathing became more labored as the sun set over London. Kate held his hand while the children stayed close, each touching their father in their own way. King Charles stood at the foot of the bed, providing silent strength and dignity to the moment. Dr. Mitchell monitored William's condition quietly, ensuring his comfort while respecting the family's need for privacy. As the evening progressed, she nodded gently to Kate, indicating that the end was approaching peacefully. The family began sharing their favorite memories of William, their voices creating a gentle soundtrack of love and remembrance. Stories of family vacations, silly moments, proud achievements, and ordinary days that had been made special by love filled the room with warmth despite the approaching loss. As Big Ben chimed 9 o'clock in the distance, William took his final breath surrounded by everyone he loved most in the world. The room fell into peaceful silence, filled with the presence of profound love and the completion of a life well lived. Kate continued holding his hand, whispering final words of love as her children stayed close, their family circle unbroken even in this moment of goodbye. The quiet farewell that followed was exactly as William and Kate had hoped it would be, private, dignified, and filled with all the love that had defined their extraordinary journey together. Outside, London continued its evening routine, unaware that inside Kensington Palace, a family had said goodbye to their beloved husband and father with grace, courage, and the kind of love that touches hearts around the world.